Today, if you could grab a seat, we're going to start here. We have some amazing speeches today. These presenters have been preparing this whole semester to give their speeches on this night. We're going to start off with the opening prayer from Lauren, and then we're going to get started with the music video this group presented. So, Lauren, take it away.
Our dear, kind, and gracious Heavenly Father, we're grateful for this day that we're able to come to class, and please bless all the speakers that are speaking today, that they will have their nerves calmed, and that everything can go according to plan. We're grateful for this campus and for the opportunity that it provides to be spiritually enlightened while studying for our degrees. We're grateful for all of our many blessings and for the proximity of a temple close by. And we love thee, Father, and we say these things in the name of our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Strike the pose. Strike the pose. Look around, everywhere you turn is heartache. It's everywhere that you go. You try everything you can to escape the pain of life that you know. All else fails and you long to be something better than you are today. I know a place where you can get away. It's called a dance floor, and here's what it's for. So come on, folks, let your body move to the music. Hey, 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 come on, folks, let your body go with the flow. You know you can do it. Oh, oh, oh.
Most humble person on earth. Give it up for Alex.
Pretty much all of my life, but especially recently, in the last few years, I have been fascinated by stories and by movies and how they have the ability to transport me to another world. The visceral imagery that cinematography and words are able to capture is truly astounding. Not to mention the characters, well-rounded characters, emotionally relatable, that keep you invested until the conclusion or end of the story. But what I want to focus on is, and what has been a constant throughout history since the very first story ever told, is the messages that are portrayed through our storytelling. The storytelling is our first and principal language of mankind. It doesn't matter what language you speak. It doesn't matter what time period you are from. You are able to communicate through storytelling. my objective today is to look back on history, look at how storytelling has shaped our understanding of the world through history, and also to answer why it's so vital, why storytelling and the messages that are portrayed through it are so vital. They have shaped us without us really knowing it. Now, as a history student, I am going to be completely snobbish and as obnoxious as I can possibly be and look back on the very first story that we know of, and that is the Epic of Gilgamesh. Now, to spare your pain and suffering from my enjoyment and amusement out of such boring things, I will give you a very, very brief summary of the Epic of Gilgamesh. That won't do it justice, but essentially it follows Gilgamesh, who is an archetypal, heroic type of figure, and his friend, and they defy the gods, the ancient Mesopotamian gods. And because of this defiance, the gods, they decide to execute Gilgamesh's friend. And so they do so. And this is an awakening to Gilgamesh. And what he does is he's like, okay, I need to find the secret to eternal life. So he has this odyssey to achieve eternal life because he is afraid of death. So it's interesting looking at it because you can see how pretty much every story afterwards has kind of followed this structure. The Odyssey and Greek stories have kind of taken from the Epic of Gilgamesh and have put these heroic archetypal figures. But the most interesting part about it is not how this follows the structure throughout history, but through the messaging, even in this very first story ever. And a quote from the Epic of Gilgamesh that I think kind of encapsulates this entire message. It says, "Life, which you look for, you will never find. For when the gods created man, they let death be his share." Now, the Epic of Gilgamesh was, of course, intended for the audience of ancient Mesopotamia, of Sumer, of Akkadian, and of old Babylonian audiences. But we can kind of see the messages today. It's that death is inevitable, that we can't escape it. It's just part of life. There's nothing we can do about it. It's interesting to see how messaging has always been a thing. Now, to be absolutely even more obnoxious and snobbish, I have decided to talk about 4 religious texts here. So we have the Holy Bible, the Hebrew Bible, or the first part of the Hebrew Bible, the Torah, the Quran, and the Bhagavad Gita. Now these, when you think about them, you probably don't initially think about the narratives or stories which are told. You probably will think about the messages which they portray. Certainly, people, millions and billions of people, do not place their foundation in faith on the narratives of these stories, but they place their foundation in faith on the messages which they portray. Now, taking our beliefs, and in the Bible, we follow the life of Jesus Christ, right? That is a story. There are characters, and it has a flow. It's told 4 times in the Bible through Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. But more important than just the life of Jesus Christ are the implications and the messages that are in his story. Now, Jesus Christ himself, when he decided to teach through messages, he did not just outright say it all the time. Most of the time, he would tell it through a story, through parables. Now, my favorite of them being the prodigal son. Now, imagine how significantly less impactful the prodigal son would have been, or the message of it, if Jesus just said, yeah, if you mess up, you can repent and come back and we'll celebrate you. Like, no, he decided to tell a story, an emotionally investing story about a father and 2 sons. And one of the sons, he decides to go out into the world and experience all the greed and the vain things the world has to offer until he loses all of it. And after he loses all of it and becomes completely humiliated, and to the point where he's eating and drinking with swines, then he comes home. And his father celebrates him. He says, "My son was lost, but is now found." That's so much more impactful than just outright saying what the message is, but through a story. Now, to take this to a more modern day thing, a modern day relation, one of my favorite stories, and a pretty recognizable story, is The Incredibles. I love The Incredibles. And there's a lot to love about it. There's humor, there's action, the animation is beautiful, the characters. But what about The Incredibles is so timeless that brings us back to it? Well, it's the mature messages. Now, Bob, the main character of the story, he is a family man, but he's not focused on his family and what he has. He's focused on the past. What he perceived was the peak of his life, his glory days. But by the end of the story, the message that it is portraying is that family is actually most important. And he realizes what he was missing is the present day, that is actually the peak of his life. Now, I've established already that all stories have messages. Okay, yeah, sure, we all know that. Who cares? What's the importance? Well, like I stated, stories can help us shape our beliefs. At a very young age, watching The Incredibles as a kid, it was teaching me, and I was being ingrained into these beliefs about family. And I didn't really even realize it until after rewatching it, then I realized what it was that I've been learning this entire time, the tiny little things that it's been teaching me. Stories really are some of the most important way to portray messages. Now, I want to tell you guys a story now. When I was a teenager, 15 to 17, my angsty years, like many teenagers, I was very insecure. I had a lot of doubts about myself. I compared myself to others, and I just had a really hard time. And because of that, it caused me to lash out at other people, to make me feel better. Some of the most regrettable things that I've done has been lashing out to my close friends and family because of my insecurities. I've caused deep wounds that I wish I could take back, but I can't. All because of my insecurities. And because of this, I also fell into a really deep and dark depression, which only further alienated me from my close friends and family. Now, during this time, I heard about the movie, and I heard it was really good. And so I decided to watch it, and that movie was Blade Runner 2049. Now, this movie was one of the most gorgeous movies I have ever seen. The cinematography was astounding. I had never seen anything like this. I was transported into another realm. It really changed my perception of film itself. But the reason why this movie I've been able to determine it was so impactful to me is because of the messages that it portrays. Now, without spoiling it, what I took away from this movie and what it kind of teaches is that no matter where you are in life, no matter your circumstances, you can still do something special and do something great. You don't have to be told that you're special your entire life in order to do something great or have a specific talent that you wish you had to do something great. You can make an impact on the world no matter what. Now, I'm not meaning to imply that this movie completely changed me, but it was a catalytic event into helping me learn to get over my insecurities. Now, everybody can have a story which impacts them, like Blade Runner 2049 did to me. A story without a message has zero impact on the viewer or reader. Sarah Rees, who is an accomplished publisher, has stated, "There are always messages in fiction, even if they're only implicit ones. They tell us things about life, about the author's understanding of the world, and often convince us to change our minds about things without ever having to come out and say it." Is storytelling the most powerful language? I certainly would like to think so. It is timeless. It has proven to be timeless throughout all history. The past can communicate to the present through storytelling and its messages. So I'll ask again, is storytelling the most powerful language? I challenge you guys to pretty hard in the next few days about what movies or stories have shaped you, and try to determine which ones they are, which messages have shaped your ideology without you ever really realizing it or knowing it. I know that there are stories that shape our lives. I can promise that if you think about this and come up with them, you will be able to identify which messages have shaped you. Thank you.
All right, that was such a powerful message from Alex. Thank you so much. Our next speaker is Jordan Lake. Jordan Lake was born in the Lou, St. Louis, Missouri, to be exact. He was brought forth at a young age to preach to the masses about authenticity. He is a communications major with an English minor. He likes long strolls on the beach and mahogany bookshelves. He has come here today primarily to tell everyone that he loves smooth peanut butter. Give it up for Jordan.
It's really bright up here. I've come here today primarily to tell you guys that I prefer smooth peanut butter. It's far superior to chunky peanut butter. There are some people who said earlier they prefer chunky peanut butter. I disagree pretty emphatically. But anyway, I would like to bring up and raise questions today on the value of human experience and the value of human creation. Today, I would like to speak on authenticity. But before I move forward into the main meat, I have to quote one of the greatest poets, creators, songwriters, and just overall public figures of our generation, Avril Lavigne, in her song, Complicated. Now, I want you to listen to this. I like you the way you are when we're driving in your car, and you're talking to me one-on-one, but you've become somebody else around everyone else. You're trying to be cool. You look like a fool to me. Why do you have to go and make things so complicated? Promise me I'm never going to find you fake it. No, no, no. It's powerful stuff. Avril Lavigne, thank you. Salute you as well. So authenticity today, I would like to bring up an important term known as commodification. Commodification, as described in critical literary analysis, means when an object is understood by its exchange value as opposed to its intrinsic or use value. Those are a lot of big words, but I'm hoping to focus it in a little bit through this cool little diagram that I found. So whenever you are working with a company and they provide some sort of value to you in exchange give them money. The use or value they have is determined by the amount of value you give to them. This happens a lot. Someday when we're all working for employers, we offer a certain service that in turn we will receive monetary value as well, such as money. But we also do this with abstract concepts such as love. The commodification of love can go in a lot of different ways. It can go positively or negatively, but the hope is that we have an exchange value where I offer my significant other certain services, and in turn, she hopefully will give me love, and of course, vice versa. Once again, that can go both positive and negatively. And on a more dramatic scale, slave owners commodified human value because they required a service and in turn devalued them by not giving them much in value back. They took rather than they gave. And so what's happening in our society today, according to my observations, is the commodification of human creation and authenticity. Because as we go through, the prime example that I would like to give is from AI. Now, AI is a valuable tool. However, because of it, human creation is being commodified with growing societal trends, and it is being devalued through other means such as algorithms. Now, AI, the problem with it is that it's much more efficient in most cases than you and I are. It's also much more cost-effective. Why, if I was a business owner, why would I hire a team of like 5 researchers when I can go to AI and type in a couple keywords and have it go through 2,000 research articles in a minute as opposed to the research team? Why would I hire an artist to paint me something when I can go to AI and simply type in a couple keywords and it makes a painting. It causes a severe problem for human creation and what we give to one another. Now, we think that this problem right here that we face, we think that's just not right. There's something about humanity and humans creating something that brings much more to the table, and you're right. That comes from the problems that come with AI. Those problems include possible plagiarism. It has a lack of personality, and it pulls from from old sources. AI, technically speaking, when we say AI, that's not the actual definition of artificial intelligence. AI, as we describe it, cannot create anything new. It can only pull from old creations from humans or technology. And so this is where the solution lies, which is authenticity. I like that picture. Anyway, so as an example of this issue, we have here a oil painting by Erin Hansen from 2021. And she created what looks to me like a pretty cool piece of artwork, yeah? However, a year later, she started to see several AI-generated pieces of art. And she realized that there's a lot of similarities between the two. And so she went and she hired a group of, this is from a CNN article, it'll be sourced at the end, but she went and hired a group of individuals to go through and check the programming of the AI-generated art. And she found that 3 of her paintings and artwork were taken to create paintings such as that one on your right. AI can't create anything new. And so she then sued the programmers of the AI and got a frick ton of money for it, so good for her. But it still leaves the issue that comes with AI. Now, in my research and searching into authenticity, because authenticity, I believe, will be the currency of the 21st century. We talked about commodification earlier, that exchange value. At some point, not in the far distant future, I believe what people are really going to be hungering for and searching for is authenticity, a genuine and a real effort put forth by humans to create something. And that's where the value will lie. People will pay, people will come in droves to see, people will search and search to find someone's real effort in creation. In my studies for authenticity, I found a book written by Haim Lassalle, and she describes authenticity as being more of not, we use the word authentic not to describe something, but to describe the lack of it. And so it's really easy for us to look at a post online or see a photo and say, that's not authentic. Like, that isn't right. I think we've all had experiences with that, but actually defining authenticity is much more difficult. Now, she gives us 5 terms that help us determine what authenticity is. She says that in order to be authentic, we must have coherence, which is the ability to understand the changes and transformations through life. Vitality, which presupposes genuine involvement in life, fulfilling essential and changing needs. Depth, which is the capacity to fathom one's own behavior, feelings, and emotions in a sufficient way. Maturity, which is the willingness and ability to come to terms with the natural and societal reality as it is, recognizing what you can and cannot do. And finally, I know these are a lot, but finally, spiritual perspective, which is the ability to relate to one's own existential vulnerability in a massive universe in a meaningful way. Like I said, I know these are really big terms, but I happen to agree with her. All of these, and all together, these terms refer to a proper understanding of yourself, society, and the universe at large. And then it helps us prescribe an efficient way to interact with each aspect of our existence. I'd like to share a study with you today that I found. And it surveyed 8,000 consumers, both in the United States and outside of it. And they found that 75% of consumers, particularly in the US, said that they would be willing to spend more money on brands and products they consider to be authentic. And then 65% of consumers express loyalty to a specific brand that has and shares their values. This is a key concept, especially for a lot of us who are communication students going into most likely the business world in the future, making advertisements, speaking, communicating, what have you. This is important because we're going to be speaking to people. We need to be authentic and we need to share our values with others so that they might, in turn, hopefully give us money, and also enjoy the products that we give them. And one other final example that I wanted to bring in was things like organic foods. A lot of people really gravitate towards organic food because we know that it's genuine, it's authentic, it came from the ground. Nobody put a needle into it and, well, hopefully not, but nobody put a needle into it and gave it a whole bunch of weird supplements, right? So that's just an example of authentic products that people will spend a hefty amount of money for because they know that they're getting a good experience. So why does this matter? Why does authentic matter, and why is it going to be the currency of the 21st century? Well, someday we're all going to be sitting in a room having an interview with hopefully a potential employer, and they're going to ask us, what are you going to bring to the table? What are you going to do that all of this technology and how society's progressed, what are you going to bring that's different from all of that? And hopefully, as we curate knowledge, as we study and learn and develop ourselves in such a way, we can look confidently into their faces and say, I can bring value. And I can bring something that no one else and no other piece of technology will be able to bring to your company. I will be able to draw customers and consumers who will be loyal. That's the value of authenticity. And that is why I believe that authenticity will be the currency of the 21st century. Thank you. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Jordan. Let's give another round of applause real quick for Jordan. That was an amazing speech. We have some cinnamon rolls in the back for you all. So we have a 10-minute intermission real quick between speakers. Grab a cinnamon roll, take a break, and then we'll get right back at it in 10 minutes. Our next speaker is Jacob Jensen. Jacob is a communications major with an emphasis in public relations. As a Gemini, he enjoys lengthy strolls on the sands of Idaho's picturesque coastline. But as a Scorpio, he can't be bothered with the humidity.
We are. All right. Excuse me. I'm going to show you a series of pictures. I invite you to audibly emote your gut reaction to each one. Look at that. Look at that. And finally, I'm suddenly reminded of the Sesame Street classic, one of these things is not like the other. One of these things doesn't belong. And some of you might be thinking, Jacob, that's unfair. The other ones are playing in the grass. It doesn't change anything. Look, I do not hate pugs. I hate that we created them. It was not an act of God or an evolutionary breakthrough. It was us. Just 'cause. The American Kennel Club traces this breed back to 400 BC. In China, they were the companions to monks and the imperial family. Breeders intentionally bred pugs in such a way that their face wrinkles would resemble the Chinese character for prince. Eventually, they found popularity among the European upper class, sparking a drastic increase in inbreeding to satisfy the demand. More inbreeding led to more genetic defects as their popularity persisted. In 2008, the BBC conducted a study on these wheezing heaps of mush. Their findings, although there were over 10,000 pugs within the UK, their gene pool was equivalent to only 50 distinct individuals. 50. Compacted airways caused by that iconic snub nose make breathing a struggle, regulating temperature a pipe dream, and sneezing impossible. They are prone to hip dysplasia and spinal deviation, which leads to limited painful mobility and even incontinence. Here we have a comparison between a wolf skull and a pug skull. Note the pug's lack of an eye ridge. This warped bone structure causes bulging eyes and an increased risk for scratched corneas and proptosis, or the eyeball falling out of its socket. Pugs have nothing to gain from their artificial transformation. The sole benefit of the pug's physical condition is our amusement. We cannot look away. We find it endearing when they are physically unwell. We took an independent branch of a living species and we contorted it and we deformed it and we mangled it into a state of all but absolute reliance. And what good did it get us? What did we get out of it? An inbred, pitiful creature that we love to hate to look at. As an individual, I don't have the influence impacting the booming global pug economy and world trade. Even if everyone in this room banded together, I don't think we could stop the inbreeding of any type of pet. It is not my concern. It is not I don't plan on acting against any kind of animal inbreeding today. It is in fact a different form of inbreeding that concerns me. And no, that isn't a light jab about the backwoods of Appalachia. I am sorry. I'm referring to the virtual inbreeding of information, the kind that we nurture on our phones every single day. Mass media has adapted well to the technological advancements of the 21st century. Social media has become a staple in modern personal connection. Online forums, a myriad of news sites, video streaming platforms, all supplement our ability to engage with individuals worldwide. The constant flow of information, this constant flow of information can be very useful. We can ask a question and have it answered in a quarter of a second. We can find like-minded individuals and feel a sense of community regardless of where we live. It's amazing. Unfortunately, with the internet, it is possible to have too much of a good thing. Algorithms suggest content that conforms to our expressed preferences. If you like watching reels of stand-up comedy on Instagram, you will see more content about stand-up comedy. If you subscribe to subreddits about cooking, you will see more content about cooking, though both topics are innocuous. Whenever you spend more time engaging with your preferred communities, you risk creating a bubble of hyper-focused media interaction, an echo chamber. An echo chamber is a sanctuary, if you will, where inbred ideologies can bounce off the walls and go right back into the ears of the self-assured. Several academic journals have confirmed that echo chambers encourage confirmation bias, or the practice of only accepting facts that support one's own opinion. This behavior fosters the spread of misinformation, polarization among online communities, and the escalation of extreme beliefs. Constant exposure to echo chambers can passively degrade your ability to understand what is going on in other groups. The severity of your convictions might increase due to the constant reinforcement you receive from like-minded voices. In short, you see less of what you should hear and more of what you want to believe. Let's use an example in American politics. Imagine two people who only allow themselves to consume media relevant to their political leanings. You'll find that they're focusing on many of the same issues. However, they've entrenched themselves so far into their beliefs that they've made open discourse impossible. They're so focused on thinking they have the correct ideas that they refuse to acknowledge any rational counterpoint. In Rexburg, we are part of a rural, conservative, religious community that values emergency preparedness. And I'd like to think that that is why I got an ad on YouTube about a month and a half ago that concerned me. Just a little disclaimer before I show these clips. They have been condensed for the sake of brevity. I have not changed the core messaging of the videos nor rearranged how they are. They are not meant to be. Here's the first one.
This marks the potential start of a third world war, and we will soon be hit with a silent, untraceable attack on America. This attack will be unlike any we have seen before, one that directly targets American farmlands and supply chains, which will cause a nationwide food shortage. Stockpiling and growing your own food is simply not enough, because this marks just the first phase of this orchestrated attack on America. And with Sleepy Joe and his team of incompetents at the helm, supermarkets will be ransacked. Local gangs and marauders will target anyone who looks like easy picking. There is something you can do to prepare. I'd like to introduce you to a good friend, Teddy Daniels. He is a United States war hero, but you need to move fast. Teddy Daniels has shown me on good authority this attack could start as soon as next week, so I urge any American or true patriot to watch Teddy Daniels' emergency broadcast right now before it gets taken down again by the powers that be to protect their controlling interests. Watch it now while you still can, like your life depends on it, because it does.
Shocking, concerning. Out of the blue, YouTube's telling me, implying that former President Donald Trump is is telling me about an impending attack on our nation. Of course, I want to see where this rabbit hole went. I clicked on the link. It takes me, I was on my phone, it takes me to an embedded video on a web page, and there's no like scroll at the bottom where you can see how long the video is. It's just, you can skip forward and back 10 seconds each. And here's a condensed version of that video.
And we will make America great again.
Ted Daniels, that's his name. Teddy Daniels.
The man, Teddy Daniels. I'm Teddy Daniels, the soldier who took 4 bullets from that AK-47. And I believe that one of the reasons God let me survive that gunfight was to deliver this emergency broadcast to you right now. Do not click away from it.
What's going on here? Well, the story gets weirder. Food processing plants all over the
It was at
country
this
seem to
point I
be
started
catching
to skip forward.
February 3rd, a massive fire ripped through Wisconsin River Meats in Malston, Paso, Texas. Fire broke out at the largest soybean that mainstream media tries to cover up.
These nationals have begun buying up tens of thousands of acres of farmland.
Communist Party be connected to our food processor fires? And then I'm going to peel back the curtain and show you rocks begging for your help. You can slam the door right in their
Keep
face. Because the Army had cross-trained me in ISR.
Naturally.
Maybe it's next year. Maybe it's next week. And think your family is safe. You're wrong. Communist China and Russia. And I mean biblical, literally. Deuteronomy 28:33. Leviticus, Revelations 1:12 warns.
What was the purpose of this emergency broadcast? Food storage. This was essentially a long-winded advertisement for food storage. I don't know how long that video actually is. I haven't had the patience to actually watch all of it. It's moot. I hope all of you practiced some media literacy and saw through the baseless fear-mongering dribble. The AI Trump monologue, the cowboy hat, the appeals to truth and religion. It's awful. All of it just dreadful. But it makes me wonder how many of our grandparents would believe this if they saw it. How many of our own parents might think these claims are legitimate? Are our loved ones living in an echo chamber? Are they primed to receive information like this and trust it? So what can we do? How do we break out of these echo chambers? I suggest we start with 3 simple habits. First, approach media messages with objectivity. There's no such thing as a completely unbiased news source. Take breaking news with a grain of salt and analyze issues from different angles. Second, add intentional variety to your social media usage. Don't let new content come to you. Actively go out and find new pages. Find people that are promoting new hobbies. Find new niche audiences that you can join. Third, seek reality. Touch grass, walk your pug, do something to engage with the physical world and to create a human connection with someone else. It took hundreds of years to breed pugs into their current malformed state. If we're not careful, our media streams can become just as unrecognizably inbred in a matter of days. Without moderation, our personalized algorithms will become a pitiful amalgam of content that we love to hate to look at.
All right, thank you, Jacob, so much. Our next speaker is Kendall Crandall. Kendall is a visual communication certificate in floral design. She said, fun fact about me, I have 30 plants and 4 different floral arrangements currently in my apartment. Kendall values and loves anyone she meets and will always surprise you with the new ways to show her love and support. She loves learning and new things, going on adventures, and is a great listener and a loyal friend. Give it up for Kendall.
Thanks, guys. All right. I want you to think for a moment and ask yourself if you've loved yourself for who you truly are. I want you to think about that. By the end of this TED Talk today, I want you to feel more confident, more loved, and appreciated for yourself. I want to get started and talk about a little story about this little girl. And this girl is me. Little Kendall Crandall. Yes, I look like Dora the Explorer. I've got the haircut and everything. I got the glasses, and I'm pretty sure I've got the backpack in the back. I was so young. I was so innocent. I loved everything. I loved my dress up. I loved playing dress up. I loved playing with stuffed animals. I just loved life. I was just a happy kid. But every kid has a little weakness if they don't like to eat veggies or if they don't want to go to bed. My weakness was school. School was so hard for me. School was tough. But I didn't know why it was tough. So every single day, school was really hard for me because I was always the last person out of class. School assignments were so hard for me. I had a hard time reading, and I just could not focus. It was tough, and I didn't know why, again. As I grew up, I kept struggling and struggling and struggling throughout the years of school. My grade teacher told me, she was like, hey, I was going to tell your parents that I think there's something that Kendall needs help with, and I think she might have a learning disability. So my parents got me tested back in second grade, and I did find out that I was diagnosed with dyslexia. And if you don't know what dyslexia is when you work half, it's basically the left side of your brain. You basically learn everything from that side, and you have a hard time speaking sometimes, you have a hard time remembering, spelling, and it just affects everything. So the way and the dyslexia that I have is more through English, so it affects everything. So when I found that out as a second grader, I was devastated, y'all. I was devastated. I just couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my gosh. I feel like I'm so different. I could not believe that this one thing could make me feel so different, so insecure, and feel so weak. I felt dumb, and I felt like an idiot, because every single day, I was not the same. And if I could go back years and years and tell myself now, to the beautiful woman I am now, that I am so confident and so proud of myself. I wish I could tell little Kendall Crandall how amazing she would become, but she had to go through so much. She had to go through so much tutoring, 6 years of tutoring. Every single Tuesday and Thursday, I had to get out of class. And I was so embarrassed because I had to tell my teacher, hey, every single Tuesday, Thursday, I had to leave 30 minutes early. I didn't want to tell my friends because I was so frustrated and I didn't want them to treat me any different. But I learned after those 6 years with dyslexia, I became so much better. This is me 8 years later on my graduation day. I was so proud of myself, guys. I was so excited because this thing that weighed me down will still weigh me down for the rest of my life, but I accomplished something so amazing. This experience really helped me. In order to love who you are, you cannot hate the experiences that shape you. Dyslexia shaped me. It helped me so much. And I want to be myself without dyslexia. I would be without dyslexia. I don't know who my personality would be, my humor, anything. And I'm so grateful for it. And I know that my experiences will continue to help me. So, with my experiences, how can I help you with your experiences? Let's work together. Each of us might have gone through something. either if you have dyslexia, ADHD, mental health, anything that you're struggling with, even your appearance. I kind of like to think of it as a mirror. You look in the mirror, for example, me, I'll look in the mirror and be like, dang, me now, I did the worst job today, or I feel sorry, or I'm so frustrated. That's how the world feels now, how we feel as adults. But if you go to the other side, like a child, you're like, oh my gosh, girl, look at me in the mirror. I'm so excited. I'm so pretty. I can just spin around and be, oh my gosh, like I love myself. Like that kid right there is amazing. But the difference between here and now, what happened to us? Where are those kids? We're not like that anymore. So, I have 3 things that will help you to guide more of your self-love for yourself. And that starts with you. The first thing is see yourself for what you truly are. Be proud of that, guys. Be kind to yourself. Be respectful. Encourage yourself to go out of your way and just shine, because who you truly are is what God made you to be. It's so important to realize that there's so much more you can become, but you have to start from the beginning. The second thing is you have your own control. Think of it like a remote. You've got the mute button, you've got the volume up and down. That is your control. You have a control of your thoughts, your emotions, and your love for yourself. So remember, if you're having a hard day, and if you just need to lower that volume button, that's okay. But remember, you can always lower it up because you have that control and you have that respect and love for yourself. And number 3, celebrate, guys. Come on, jump up and down. Celebrate who you are, your respect, and your love. You are becoming amazing, great people. And don't forget about that, because when you forget about that, your self-worth and self-love are gone. It's important to understand and remember that in life, things can get a little tricky, but when you learn to love yourself, it allows you to have the greatest relationship with yourself. Think about that for a second. I have an amazing relationship with myself, but how can you have a great relationship with yourself? We spend about 24/7 every single day with ourselves. Eating, sleeping, hanging out with friends. It's a lot for us. Sometimes we need to take a break. Sometimes we need to use our control. But remember to show compassion for yourself, because the most important relationship, of course, yes, is with God and friends, but I'm like, the first one is you. You have to understand that your relationship is so precious, and it's important to also remember that it's number 1. I am so excited that each one of you is continuing to learn and grow on your journey. I want you to keep thinking, both of us together, that we are learning and trying every single day to find true love and worth. Like I said at the beginning, I want you to leave stronger and more confident in yourself. I have actually hidden something underneath each of your seats, and I want you guys to go find it. So, read those 2 words. Love yourself. Believe every word in your heart. Believe today, tomorrow, and believe your whole life that you are worth it and you have so much love to give. Self-love and self-worth have power, and that is all through those 2 simple words. Remember that, guys. Remember that always. Because if you have confidence and love in yourself, you can portray it towards so many people. Remember to love yourself always.
All right, let's give one more round of applause for Kendall. That was an amazing speech. We want all of the speakers to come up on the stage real quick, and we can grab a picture and give them one last huge round of applause. So you guys can come on up right now. Let's give them a round of applause. What an awesome group to finish us off here. Thank you guys so much. I hope you had a great time. And don't forget, as Kendall said, love yourself. We'll see you guys.